Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Alice and I'm coming to you from the Canadian East Coast. This is a tutorial video, so I'm not going to talk or share too much with you about my life or about my most recent projects. The goal of this video, and especially this few minutes in the beginning, is that I will give you a little instructions for the tutorial. I named this cardigan Cherry and Peach because I knitted it in two versions. The size is absolutely the same, but I wanted to experiment on different yarns and also to check out that even though I used different yarns, the gauge would be the very same. And I was actually right. Otherwise, I wouldn't show you these two cardigans. So the sizes are the same. It turned out absolutely the same. None of them is longer or shorter. And I used the very same amount of yarn. Spring finally arrived even to Canada. Last week we had +5, but today the weather is really warm and nice out there. And the reason why I mentioned to you the weather is because I do believe that these cardigans can be worn in any season. I love cardigans, even in general, because especially in the summertime when I go into a building or go to shopping, sure, those buildings can be terribly cold and I need something just to throw around my back. Now, the other information I wanted to share with you is that this pattern is good even for a beginner, especially if you already tried out the Hunglish basic raglan cardigan on my channel. Then it will be 100% easy cardigan to knit for you. And I'm saying it's a beginner cardigan because after you finished the elevation, this is the point where you will begin the lace pattern on the front. This is where we finished. If you are a professional, okay, let's say not professional, but an expert in knitting, you will figure out how to add the pattern, the lacy pattern, which contains 6 stitches each time, to the time when you already begin the elevation. And again, for the elevation, I use the bobby pin technique. And this time in the video, I'm actually not using bobby pins themselves, but markers. But either way is good. What else to tell about the pattern? The pattern is free. Again, you can download it from my Ravelry account. But this time, I would appreciate if you like this pattern and want to use it. Let's practice generosity. I do not know where you live, but please, if you really like the pattern and you decided to download it and to knit it for yourself, make a small donation to the local charity homeless shelter and support those people who are without homes, houses, and loved ones. That would be lovely from you. I would really appreciate it. And if you did, please mention it below in the comment line. And finally, probably the most important information, there is no music, no annoying music during the video, but I'm talking during the video. It was really good to see you today. I promise I will be back soon again with a new video sharing with you my most recent projects on the needle. Until then, I wish you happy knitting. May God bless you all, and goodbye. Now let's get to work. I'm casting on the stitches here, and in my size, which is size small, I need 100 stitches to cast on. You are free to use any version casting on. This is my preference, and to be honest, I never even tried another version of casting. It works really well for me. I have the first row now, the casting on row, and I'm going to work knit one, purl one neckband. You can knit the neckband between, I guess the best is 3 or 5 centimeter, and usually I knit 3 centimeters neckband. Now I'm knitting one more row in order to set the stitches for the raglan increases. And as you see in this row, I purl all the stitches while I'm dividing this row for the raglan. Place markers on both sides of the raglan stitch. We are done, and let's do the raglan increases at the same time we will do the elevation of the neck. And of course we are going to use the bobby pin technique, and you are free to use bobby pins for the technique, but this time I'm going to use markers, and I will leave the markers each time I do an elevation. It will just show me and help me to realize actually how many times I did the elevation. So we are in row 1, and of course on the right side. So let's knit to the raglan stitch, make one right, then slip the marker, knit the raglan stitch, slip the marker again, and make one increase leaning off on the left direction, so which means make one left increase. Now do this 3 more times. So in one row, in row 1, you're doing these increases 4 times all together at both sides of the raglan stitch. Now after the last increase, knit 1 stitch and place the bobby pin or the marker and turn the work. In row 2, purl through the row to the last marker. We are at the last marker, you see, raglan stitch marker. Now purl 2 stitches and then place the bobby pin or the marker and again turn the work. We are in row 3 on the right side again, and knit to the raglan stitch. Again, make one right increase and then slip the marker, knit the raglan stitch, slip the marker, and make one left increase. Work through the row, making it all together 4 times the increases. This is the last increase, as you see. Make one left. And now knit to the gap, because you see each time we turn, we leave actually a gap behind, and somehow we have to fix it. So this is how to fix it. Make sure that the next stitch will be in the right direction on the left needle, and then from behind, place the stitch with the marker on the left needle, and then knit these 2 stitches together. Good. Fix it a bit. Good. Now knit 1 more stitch and then place another bobby pin or a marker and then turn again. In row 4, we are on the wrong side again, and we will just purl through the whole row until we get to the gap again. So here we are. It's a bit different how to fix the gap. First, you need to slip the stitch from the left needle to the right needle. Place the stitch with the bobby pin on the left needle and place back the stitch from the right needle to the left one, and finally purl these two stitches together. Tighten it a bit again and purl one more stitch. Place the bobby pin or marker and turn. All right. Now here comes row 5. We are on the right side again. You know now the drill. Make increases at every stitch marker before and after, and work through the row to the gap. I'm checking here always the last stitch before the gap because I don't want to twist it. So the same way, make sure that the last stitch on the left needle is in the right direction, and then place the bobby pin stitch on the left needle and knit these two stitches together again. Tighten it a bit, knit one more stitch, and place another bobby pin or marker on the yarn. Now turn, and we are in row 6. And in row 6, basically, we are just repeating row 4. Purl to the last stitch with the gap, to the gap. Good. Slip the stitch from the left needle to the right needle. Place the bobby pin stitch on the left needle. Put back the stitch from the right needle and purl these two stitches together. Purl one more stitch and place the bobby pin or marker, and then turn. Row 7, as you see, basically we are going to repeat row 3. Knit through the row while you are making those increases at the markers, and then knit to the gap. The same you need to do. Make sure that you place the stitch on the left needle to the right direction, then place the next marker stitch on the left needle and knit these two stitches together. Knit one more stitch and place the last marker on the right side on the yarn and then turn. In row 8 on the wrong side, basically we are repeating row 4. So nothing new is happening here. Purl through the row to the gap. Slip the stitch after the gap from the left needle to the right needle. Place stitch from the bobby pin on the left needle. Slip back the stitch from the right needle on the back needle and then purl these 2 stitches together. And purl 1 and replace the original bobby pin, or the way I do here, place 1 more marker on the yarn and then turn. Now this is now how it looks. We placed on both sides 4 bobby pins or markers, which means that in this row, which is row 9, we are going to finish 1 elevation on the right side. So knit through the whole row by increasing each time before and after you get to the markers, and then do the elevation the usual way. Place the stitch with the bobby pin from behind on the left needle and knit the next 2 stitches together. And this time, you see, we are not going to do 1 more elevation, but knit through the whole row. I usually purl the last stitch. So you see it's actually looking good, it's beautiful. We need to perform 1 more elevation on the wrong side. So this is what's going to happen in row 10. And as I mentioned, I usually purl the last stitch and then slip the first stitch when I knit. This is my style. Purl to the gap on the wrong side in row 10. Slip stitch after the gap from the left needle to the right needle. Place stitch from the bobby pin on the left needle. Slip back the stitch from the right needle back on the left needle and purl these 2 stitches together. And you see, no more elevation or bobby pins. Finish the row by purling to the end. And with this, we are done with the elevation part of the cardigan. Check out, please, how many stitches you have on the needle. And here you can check yourself with the distribution of the stitches. from time to time, it's good to check because we sometimes tend to forget to do increases. And look at that, it looks beautiful. Now you can drop those reminder markers. We don't need them anymore. Next, it looks really good. You cannot see where exactly actually you did the elevation. It is a very, very good technique. This is my preference, the bobby pin technique. Now that we are done with the elevation, we will work back and forth across all the stitches while working raglan increases on every other round as follows. Every other round means that when you do the right side row, the knitting row, basically you do increases before and after the raglan stitches. And when you are doing the wrong side, it means that you just purl through the row without any increases. So it's simple like that. Now the other thing that is important, that this is the row when we will start doing the lace patterns always on the right side on both the fronts panels. Before we start the knitting, please place markers to divide the front for the parts of the lace pattern. And the lace pattern contains 6 stitches, so after each 6 stitches, please place a marker. We have the markers on both sides, on the left and on the right front panels. We are in row 1. I slip the first stitch and then I knit 1 stitch. Slip the marker and knit 1, purl 1, then slip, slip, place these 2 stitches back on the left needle and knit these 2 stitches together, which means that we are knitting, leaning to the right direction. Yarn over, purl 1 stitch and knit 1 stitch. Slip the marker, knit 1, purl 1, again slip, slip, knit these 2 stitches together, leaning the right direction, yarn over, purl 1 and knit 1. Slip marker, knit 1, purl 1, slip, slip, again, knit them together, yarn over, purl 1, knit 1. 3 times we performed the 6 stitches pattern. Knit the next stitch, The last stitch before the marker here is a purl stitch. Then knit through the row and make the raglan increases at each marker, and then just simply mirror the chart on the right front. Now we are in row 2 on the wrong side, purl on the wrong side, and otherwise just follow the pattern on the lace. Simple like that. In row 3, we are on the right side. I slip the first stitch and then knit one, knit and other one, purl one, knit one, knit another one, purl one, knit, slip marker, knit one, purl one, knit one, knit another one, purl, knit, slip marker, knit one, purl one, knit one, knit another one, and purl one, knit and slip marker. Knit one, purl one, and knit one. Now again, perform the raglan increases and then mirror again the chart on the right front. In row 4, purl through the row except on the lace pattern where you have to follow those stitches. We are in row 5. I always slip the first stitch and then next stitch was a knit stitch, slip marker, knit one, purl one, yarn over, and now knit together the next 2 stitches leaning on the left direction. Purl one, knit one, slip marker, knit one, purl one, yarn over, knit the next 2 stitches together, purl one, and knit one, slip the marker, knit one, purl one, yarn over, knit the next 2 stitches together, not yarn over, don't make a mistake, purl one, and then knit one, slip marker, knit one, purl one. I'm checking here if I have enough stitches to perform the 6 stitches pattern, and yes, I do have, so I knit 2 stitches together at the end. And basically, again, you finish the row. I showed you here these 6 stitches pattern, how we perform them after each other, and each time when you had an increase on the right side and finish the wrong side, in the next right side you will actually have another chance to add more and more lace pattern. So continue these 2 rounds with the lace pattern as many times you need in your size. And now comes the part when you will do not increase stitches for the sleeves, only for the body. And one more thing, the 6 stitches lace pattern will be repeated 6, 8, 9, 9, and 10 times in those different sizes on both the fronts. Now that we are finished with the raglan increases, let us divide the stitches for body and sleeves while we will cast on new stitches at the underarm. And at the same time, we will remove raglan markers. We do not need them anymore. So work as follows. Knit through the front, left front, while of course working the lace pattern. We are at the first marker, so drop the marker and knit the raglan stitch. The raglan stitch will be part of the body, not the sleeve. Now place the next stitches, the stitches of the sleeve, on a stitch holder or on a scraped yarn. Drop the marker and just tie it together. And let resting the sleeve. Now it is interesting sometimes for people, it's confusing, but we have to turn the work basically to the wrong side, but from the wrong side only we are able to cast on new stitches. So cast on the numbers of stitches you need for your size by using the backward loop method. This is how I actually do it. But you maybe have your preference unless you are a beginner. So I have the 8 stitches I need for size small. Now turn back to the right side. Good. And let us continue. And here it is, the raglan stitch. That was the raglan stitch before. And it is going to be part of the body. We did not add it to the sleeve. So knit the raglan stitch, drop the marker, and then knit through the whole back. I knitted through the back. I will drop the marker and we'll knit the raglan stitch, which is again part of the body. And now do the same way as before with the left sleeve. Place the next stitches on a stitch holder. And let those stitches rest while we will actually work on the body. Good, we are done. The same way as before, turn to the wrong side and cast on the new stitches for the arm, underarm. Turn back to the right side. Knit the raglan stitch and then knit through the right front at the same time performing the lace pattern. This is how it looks after dividing the parts. And remember that you repeated the 6 stitch patterns these times, like in my size only 7 times, but the lace pattern does not continue under the arm. On the back, you would just work with stockinette stitch and make the body until the cardigan measures about 40 or 50 centimeter, and then finish the cardigan with knit one, purl one rib. Usually I knit around 8 centimeter rib. We will do the button bend through 13 rows. Sometimes we tend to make those mistakes not picking up enough stitches. And so if you don't pick up enough stitches, it will pull together the button band. And to avoid too tight button band, we are using a smaller needle, in this case needle number 3, and we'll pick up stitches as follows. You will pick up 2 stitches, then the third one you will pick from sticking through 2 legs of the next stitch. And then in order to avoid wonky bottom edge of a button band, we are picking up, I call it number 0 stitch, and it will come from the last stitch of the body rib. I will show it to you soon. So this is the first stitch of the row, but let's pick up, well, the first stitch, or I call it the 0 stitch, from the last stitch of the rib. I'm not sure if you ever seen it or done it before, but it will help us to have a much better looking button band. So that was number 0 stitch. Now let's begin. Pick up 1 stitch, it's not easy actually, but it's very tight. Pick up the second stitch, and then the third stitch. Always poke through the 2 legs between the stitches. Now repeat. Pick one stitch, and then the second stitch, and the third stitch we will poke through the legs of between the stitches. And again repeat. Pick up 1 stitch, the next stitch, and the third always should come poking through the legs between the stitches. Very good. And this way we are going to have enough stitches to have a stretchy, nice button band. Again, poking through the 2 legs between the stitches. Now we are at the end of the row. So 1 stitch, and then 2 stitch. Now it's not easy here. I mean, this time, this is the last stitch on the row. I am trying here so hard. But it's just way too tight. So guess what? I will need a crochet hook. So with a crochet hook, I am able to get the stitch that I need. But the same way we did in the beginning, having a 0 stitch, we are going to have 1 additional stitch, which is not, because there's no more stitch on the row, we will use and pick the first stitch from the neck rib. It looks interesting, I know, but believe me, at the end, it will be very, very nice. So row 1 is done with picking up the stitches. We are in row 2, and I'm purling the first stitch. And remember, usually I slip the first stitch, and I will again, but this time I purl the first stitch and I purl the second stitch as well, because it will look better this way. Now knit one, purl one, knit one, purl one. So repeat these knit purl stitches, please. All right. Work through these, this row 4 more times. So 4 more rows. So we finished basically row 6. And before row 7, before we would begin row 7, we have to place markers to mark the buttonholes. So many times you have, difficulties where to put those buttonholes. Where to put the markers. Basically, it depends on the length of your cardigan and on how many stitches you picked up. So make sure that before the first hole and after the first hole, you are going to have about 6-7 stitches, and between the markers make sure that you don't have more than 15 or 18 stitches. Now we are in row 7 as for the work, but as for the buttonholes, the 3-row buttonholes, we are in row 1. So work 1 stitch before the marker, so that stitch, and then drop the marker, and the next stitch we will knit them together. So place them in the right direction and then make a yarn over and knit these 2 stitches together. So basically the knit stitch will cover the purl stitch behind. Now repeat this at every marker. In row 8 we are on the wrong side, and as for the buttonhole, we are in the 2nd row. Work to the location of the buttonhole. You will see that's the buttonhole, and we need to knit that stitch. And repeat it at every hole. And then turn. We are in row 9 on the right side, and as for the buttonhole, we are on the 3rd row. So work to the buttonhole and poke through from behind the stitch below and purl that stitch. In this row, the buttonholes are done, and after that, please work through 4 more rows of knit 1, purl 1. Now we are in row 13, which is actually the bind off row. I can say that you can do the bind off in any preference technique. This is how I do. Make sure that you don't do it too tight. It's nice and stretchy. And can you see the beginning at the end of those button bands are really flexible and I think looks pretty professional. Just because we added those stitches, the last and first stitches of the body rib and of the neck rib. Now let us work on the sleeves. And the sleeves we work on a circle needle using the magic loop technique. I already made one sleeve so you can see how it's going to look with the other one. First, place back the stitches on the needle. Then pick up stitches along the stitches that were cast on at the underarm on the body. There should be that many stitches you see here with the red letters. So in my size, I have 78 stitches on the needle. Now here I like setting the magic loop technique this way. I divide the stitches into two parts. So basically I can knit through smoothly under the arm. This way I actually see much better the underarm, especially when I will have to perform the decreases. So now just knit through the whole row. Knit it through until you get back to the point where you picked up, casted on, well, picked up the new stitches. I'm knitting it through with you. So you will sense how I like actually seeing through the arms, the sleeves. It's really funny how the color is changing while I'm knitting, probably because I am using here for the recording just simple lamp. All right, here we are. I'm going to show you something. Well, I'm not sure if it's new or not, but for me it's not new, but I have not seen other people to do this. So knit two kind of like to the gap, which is very visible right now. So here's the gap, you see. In order to avoid big holes, the two stitches, which is the last one stitch here and the first you just picked up, I want to knit them together. Basically, this is going to be the first decrease. I'm placing them to the right direction. Okay, tight it a bit, and I knit them together. This is a kind of method to deal with the holes under the arm. Yeah, it looks good. Now knit to the last stitch you just picked up under the arm and do the same. So here it is. That's the hole. Knit these two stitches together. So basically we closed those holes, and maybe you will not have to sew together the holes at the end that we usually do. Now let's see it, how it looks quickly. Those holes. Yes, this piece of yarn you will have to fix, but look, there is no hole. Isn't that wonderful? Now here I'm showing to you that work in stockinette stitch the same way you saw me to do, without any decrease, more decrease, in my size, small size, 16 rows, because in the after the 16 rows we will start decreasing. And here I'm checking that there are 4 stitches between the markers, and before and after the markers we are going to do the decreases. So let us place those markers under the arm in the center, making sure that there are 4 stitches between the markers. And now you see why I divided the sleeve with this magic loop technique. Knit to 2 stitches before the marker, and knit the next 2 stitches together before the marker by slip, slip, and knit. So basically they will lean, I mean the knitting together stitch will lean toward the left. Then slip marker, knit the 4 stitches, slip marker, and knit the next 2 stitches together. So in this row 2 stitches were decreased. Now keep doing it. Repeat the decreases as many times you need here. I'm showing here to you in your size, and after every 10, 9, 8 or 7 rows depending on your size. And at the end, when you finish the decreases, there should be that many stitches on the needle. After you were done with the decreases, actually you can knit it longer, the sleeve, if you have a long arm. But the point is, make sure that you check it, you try it on, and then after you knitted it to the desired length, finish it with the knit 1 purl 1 rib.